Hi, I'm Britten and this is Moon to Moon. Moon to Moon is a space to consider, celebrate, and share the ways we come home to ourselves, anchor through change, and uncover our power. 1 month, one phase, one loving step at a time.
Hello, Moon to Moon. Welcome back. I'm recording now under the dark moon. It's darkening into Aries, soon to be in Taurus, into the way dark, before our new moon in Gemini on Sunday. I'm recording from a hotel room in Santa Barbara. I'm road tripping from San Diego to San Francisco with my 17-year-old. And I feel like I'm either getting big allergy flare or I'm getting a cold because I have a sore throat and my voice is scratchy. So you'll be able to pick up on all of that in the audio. I wanted to take a moment out of our time here to tune into this series that I have been putting out over the course of June on the houses through the lens of self-abandonment so that we can notice how and where self-abandonment can show up. Because what I've found to be true is we really need it to be illuminated for us to even notice how we're doing it. And then we can begin to change the pattern, which is to bring ourselves back home within. I'm doing this series because I love doing series, but I'm in the process of promoting and honoring the doors opening to the Emergence Astrology pathway, which is the way to work with me through my frameworks, through my teachings in a longer term, anchored, contained way, where through the contract of us committing to one another, we're able to really move through it so that these teachings, frameworks, the phrases, whatever it is that draws you to listen to Moon in the first place, whatever is drawing you to my work, to my own voice, that we're able to move through these teachings in a deeply intentional way that is designed to anchor you in a way that where there's no turning back, so that you're really getting the trust my voice and follow it of my tagline. Trust that voice and follow it of my tagline. I came up with that tagline. I talked about this at the branding workshop. Have you tried making it weirder? I came up with that with the help of Matt, my partner, my boyfriend, who's in advertising and copywriting for all these years since he graduated from college, almost 30 years now. I He had me do this writing exercise because I basically was like, can I just like book us in a cabin in the woods for a weekend of having fun together, but also like doing a branding exercise for me to help me understand what I'm doing? as a Pisces, 12th house Pisces, it's often really hard for me to see what I'm doing and really understand its effects on others. And it felt really powerful to take some intentional time to do that. And one of the things he had me do was to write like a fantasy testimonial from someone who is like ideally receptive to the teachings that I have, like someone who's really going to let them in, someone who's really going to let them in and is really going to chew on them and anchor them and begin to live them and embody them. But I didn't really have to fantasize because I already had students and clients like this. And I had heard from multiple that they felt drawn to my voice and that the process of committing to working with me and committing to learning with me and committing into these containers I have beyond the open moon to moon space, the open, like free spaces where I teach, but coming into commitment with me, what it ultimately revealed to them is the power of their own voice. So it's like they were following my voice because it began to illuminate their own. And so I wrote in the pretend testimonial, if you feel called to work with Britten, trust that voice and follow it, among other things that I wrote. Um, all modeled after I have two people in my mind's eye that I remember precisely their testimonials, and they were very similar. They may be listening to this right now. And I showed Matt, what I'd written, and he just like leaned over my shoulder and underlined, trust that voice and follow it. And was like, there it is. So, listener, if you're feeling called to go deeper with me, trust that voice and follow it. Because ultimately, it's not about me, Britton LaRue, and my voice. Working with me through the pathway, the Emergence Astrology pathway, will illuminate your own. And you will drop deeper and deeper and deeper into trusting and validating your authentic, deep, wise voice that comes from your own knowing, which is the thing that you have. It's the thing that you have that no one can take away from you. So, I'm a long-term person. I'm a very Saturnian person in many ways, even though I'm also a very Jupiterian person. My spaces are very expansive and they feel like anything is possible. I had a wonderful, long, long, long time student and community member just send me a voice note, unexpected, unsolicited, letting me know that for him, my containers and my books feel like never ending story where you are in this place and it feels so wonderful to be there. And then you realize that you are there and you are actually living it in your own life. It's not just in the book, which I just absolutely love because The Neverending Story has been one of my favorite movies my whole life. And starting in college, I would watch it every year on my birthday because I just like, yeah, it's just so me. That's very Jupiterian. But the Saturnian part of me is the part of me that like really likes a structured curriculum, one that builds and one that has intelligence and an elegance to where we're going. It feels very Saturn exalted in Libra, the beauty that I see in structure and design. And then with Saturn, I like time, like I like long-term time because what we're doing together is not something that like a one-off workshop or even a one season course can really anchor in. And I used to have many different length containers that people could come into, and many, 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 many people would do all of them. And then they'd be like, oh, shoot, I feel like I should have done that one first. And now I've created this such that I have very few containers now. It's my community living emergence. There's this, which is the 1, 2, or 3 year curriculum, depending on how deep you want to go. The magician's table, which is really, doing its own thing over there as an experiential container. And then mystics making money, which are really, that's on a very experimental teaching thing that I do in a workshop style seasonally. So the big stuff, like the big stuff is in the emergence astrology pathway. And each year I've been completely redesigning the curriculum now that my business ecosystem has shifted a lot and I see what I need to do. Year 1 is going to be a completely contained curriculum. Year 2 will be completely contained, and year 3 will be completely contained, meaning they will have their own feel, they will feel like their own thing, each one. But you can't go to year 2 without year 1. You can't go to year 3 without year 1 and year 2. So they build. But if you decide you just want to plan for year 1, know that when that year 1 ends, you will feel completely satisfied that you got the contained experience. But what I imagine is that a very large fraction of you are going to be wanting more because there's so much more. There's so much more. I would say that it takes at least 3 years to really work through everything that I have to teach, which all came to me very rapidly over the first 8 years of finding astrology. Everything came in rapidly. Everything to me feels like gifts that I got that I now steward to find the people who want to learn these things the way that I was receiving them. And here it is. It's not an astrology classroom. In fact, there will be many people who sign up, as there always are, who've been taking astrology, learning astrology for years. They may even have their own client communities. That's very common in my spaces. And so it's also common that people who never in a million years thought that they would ever study something with the word astrology in it find their way into learning with me, not knowing why they're there, just that they're called. That is a refrain I have heard from the start of my career. So you may fall somewhere in that spectrum, and everyone is welcome, because this is not a space about like consuming information or knowledge. It's a place to have experiences with your own gnosis and to share that gnosis in community in a way that will change your life, because you're surrounded by what can help you anchor down into what you're coming to know, where you may not find that community elsewhere. If you're a teacher of astrology and you are an astrologer, you are going to learn a lot here to transform what you bring to your students and clients, not just from what I'm going to teach you, but what you're going to see within yourself from what I give you to get down into. Okay. So, in order to be in gnosis, this is your knowing. In order to be in gnosis, like there is so much that is necessary to clear the way to be able to really hear it, and hear it in a way that's not triggered by inner child wounds, trauma, need to be loved, need to be validated, need to be safe emotionally by being smart, being wise, being successful, all the things. There's so much between you and the richness of your gnosis that even if you may be years into deprogramming and healing, there's just always more. There's just always more. So the whole first year is really about identifying when you're not in yourself. And it really does need an entire year. That way we don't have to do it too fast that you can't receive it, right? Like slow, slow, deep pace allows for heightened receptivity. And that receptivity allows it to anchor and integrate and to metabolize and to become who you are now. Who you are now. You are in you, not looking for answers, not looking for someone else to validate you. All of this is based on my own journeys starting at midlife, which if you've followed me a while or you have my book or you've looked at the course page, there's some there about my story. So self-abandonment patterns can absolutely be repaired. And this experience, the emergence astrology pathway, is an experience of repair. It's an experience of recovery. It's an experience of renewal. It's an experience of finding how much more you are now that you're back in yourself. It's funny how when we don't see how big we are, we go to other people to tell us about anything because we assume they know more, they have more, they that we don't have something, but so much is already right here. We just don't know how to see it and to recognize it. So I'm bringing us now into the seventh house, which is arguably where self-abandonment happens the most, because the seventh house has to do with who we each are relative to another being. The seventh house being me and you. And in this relationship, this one-on-one relationship, seventh house is one-on-ones, romantic, friendship, partnerships, who we are as we find out who we are through others. And it's a house where it's this field of life that's some of the hardest stuff of life, because let's be real, it's the relational stuff that's the hardest part about being human beings. It's the relational stuff. I say this as someone with Pluto in the North Node in the seventh house in Libra. But yeah, like because we, first house, we're just like moseying along, being ourselves, and then boom, we bump up into somebody else. And like their perspectives, their counterpoint, what they see. And we are always also projecting on each other what we don't want to hold about ourselves, what we don't want to see in ourselves, what we presume somebody else is thinking, what we presume they're feeling, what we presume that they're saying inside themselves about us. There's like so much presumption that happens because of the projection field in the seventh house. It is so difficult for us to see each other clearly. And because so many of us learned a lot of patterns of projection to stay safe in our childhood with others, we are very we are very perceptive. Like the people who come into my world tend to be very sensitive, porous, intuitive beings. But intuition and projection are different things. And so many of us, we're all guilty, me too. We think we're being intuitive, but we're actually projecting. Is it intuition or is it projection? Like we harm each other when we presume we're intuiting something that really is a projection from the younger self that is terrified, from a protector part, the judger part, the pedestalizer. the villainizer. We have to account for the fact that we do this to each other in order for us to repair. We cannot repair without doing the work of owning the harm we do to each other because we're projecting fear onto one another. There is intelligence to, what we do from our traumas. There's intelligence to what we do for self-protection. There's intelligence to all of it. There is an intelligence that leads us back to our innocence. Yes, there is an innocence, but we can't really move forward and have rich, meaningful, intimate relationships with one another like we crave. I mean, we fucking embodied here to be intimate with one another. We just did. Intimacy is the thing that we're all craving. And yet we are terrified of it. So the lack of trust that populates the seventh house experience of most of us, I don't know anyone who doesn't struggle here. The lack of trust that we have in ourselves within relationship and in each other to hold us in relationship makes intimacy feel so frightening. It feels so vulnerable. And so we learn to put up these walls between us. Most of us weren't taught how to have healthy boundaries, to not self-abandon, but also to stay open to intimacy and to keep our heart open to intimacy. And so you better believe, like, year one is so much on this boundaries, like heart open bound. What does it mean to have boundaries and be an open hearted person? What does it mean to really, really take responsibility for checking ourselves and the ways that we project onto other people? This is about relating. It's about relationship. But we've been so hurt, all of us. And we have so many protector parts. We have so many parts of us that are just so afraid to give ourselves away once again, to be hurt once again, to get vulnerable again and be betrayed. We so deeply, when we start recovering here, when we start recovering and learning how to not self-abandon, then our own self-awareness can make it really difficult in conflict to hear the other person, because we don't want to do that thing again where we give ourselves away to the other. But then that like hypervigilance against not giving ourselves away closes our hearts and makes it impossible for us to listen. And we can't relate to one another if we cannot listen to one another. Oof. We're really doing this one big in year two as well, because for me, first we do this with moon at the moon level, which is so profound. But then we really need to do it again at a Pluto level. Um, and that is the even deeper layer underneath the moon layer of fear, of vulnerability and intimacy. And yet, this is what we crave, We crave intimacy. We want to trust that we can be safe, opening our hearts to another, letting people in. So I'm kind of creeping into the eighth house a bit. So let me try to pull back. But yeah, what I'll say with self-abandonment with the seventh is that, I mean, because, oh my fucking God, I mean, I could do seventh, eighth house. I could be teaching you on this for the rest of my life, and I will be, I guess, technically. But I mean, there is just so much to say and to feel and to practice because this shit we only repair through fucking up. Like we only repair through the opportunity to move through conflict with one another. We only repair here through like real time episodes with another person because we cannot repair in the seventh house in isolation. It's an interpersonal house. We cannot repair in isolation. We can't take a workshop on intimacy and like think that's doing something. We actually have to go through life while in the learning with it and keep returning and like really sit with like, what was that? What happened there? Okay, let's move forward from that. Okay, well, that episode really showed me where I'm afraid. Well, that episode really showed me where I'm have unacknowledged frustration. Well, that episode really showed me where I insist on being right because I want to win or whatever it is. Like we have so much relational gunk. We repair in real time. So I just highly recommend if any of this is like, whoa, come into the pathway with me because it's through the long steps together that your own real life stuff can come up to bring into the weaving of the material to help you hold it in real time with your own relational stuff. And fucking repair is so possible. It's just the most beautiful thing. We humans are so extraordinary. It's just, ugh, there is nothing more beautiful than repair and intimacy. I mean, I know I have Pluto in the North Node here, but like, truly, truly. So the way I teach the seventh house is, as you'll see, is that I think of it as where we have where we have contracts, and a lot of contracts are legal that are like, you're bringing this and you will do this, and I am you're not entitled to this and whatever. But a lot of all of our agreements are energetic as well as consciously, directly, legally stated. Most of the things we have, like our one-on-one friendships, we don't have legal contracts unless your best friend is also your business partner. And then, but even then, like your friendship has its own contract separate from your business contract. And that's where we energetically agree and disagree with each other. We hold agreements. And these agreements are often unacknowledged by us. They're unseen, like nobody told us. Like we're innocent in not seeing them because nobody's talked to us about energy growing up. At least that's the case for me. So as soon as this was spoken into my life, like my life immediately started to change. Like I only needed like a tiny bit to be catapulted into massive life change. So like that's how life changing this energy stuff is, and that's so much of what we're doing in year one is I'm introducing you to my way with energy. I mean, once you start to see like, oh my God, I agreed to that. Oh my God, I agreed to that. Oh my God, I agreed to that. Like, why is my relationship this way? Because I fucking agreed to it energetically. That's why it's this way. And this is not to make yourself like a victim and then blame yourself, but your younger self didn't know better. Your younger self maybe wanted these agreements. It's just that you've grown, you've matured, you've evolved. And the reason it doesn't feel good in the relationship is because it's still in this old agreement that you don't want anymore. That doesn't mean you want to quit and burn the bridge, divorce, break up. You just really need to update it. Nobody talks about this because energy is like a deeply invalidated wisdom tradition. I mean, even people in a lot of like somatic therapeutic communities diss on energy. And it's just like, wow, how is this helpful? It is like the most helpful thing to speak energy and to get skill. So you can just see it and just update it. Um, so we self-abandonment in so many ways through these contracts that we agreed to when we were younger, but we haven't honored the updates that we want to make. And updating contracts is one of the scariest things that we can do because we're not in control of how the other person responds to our preferred updates. And often we you find yourself in relationship with someone who doesn't really want to update. They may not be conscious of any of this, but you energetically know that they're like, no, I like it the way it is. Now, I believe that all updates to present time are the highest and best for both parties. But it's just that the other person, and sometimes the other person is you, it, aka me also, right? I'm a human. Sometimes we don't want the update because we're afraid. The other person may not want the update because they don't know how to be in that way of being with you anymore. They don't know it. It's unknown. And humans tend to be very afraid of change. They're afraid of emergence. And so you can, if you're sensing like they don't want to update with me, I see it in the energy field. It's likely not the whole of them. It's not their soul that doesn't see that this is the best thing, but it's that they have protectors that are like very in charge. And those protectors are afraid of change. And they believe that the only way you can be in a dynamic with them is the way it's always been. So, the scariest thing about quitting patterns of self abandonment in the seventh house is that we can't control how the other person reacts and responds to the updates that we're bringing to them. And this is where all the inner child healing skill sets that I'm going to be bringing you for year one are going to be so helpful is it helps you hold the fear of how somebody else is going to react to your emergence, meaning your update in the present time. It means the same thing. So, yeah, everything that we want, like we want to take up more space, we want expansion, we want more of this, we want more of that, and we're like, why am I not able to do this? We're not able to do it as long as we do not have the capacity to hold our fear of what will happen in our relationships when we expand and grow. Bottom line, bottom line. So we have to then decide I either continue the patterns of self abandonment or I grow my capacity to hold my fear. Because at this, until you update, it's only a projection of your own fear. You don't actually know that the other person will not support you. We project our fear of not being supported onto the other person. And so we stay in the same thing that we've been in. And then we just like quietly feel resentful, mad, judgmental, passive aggressive. You can think of all the little ways that we're gnarled up inside, angry. We're angry at the other person that we can't grow, but that's not their job to do for us. It's our job to attend to our own growth and our own emergence. So, attending to self abandonment is an inside job that we take on ourselves. Nobody else is responsible for our own growth. Nobody's responsible. That's only us. So, whenever we're blaming for somebody else for where we're at, we're projecting. If this sounds like something that you would like support in, this is really what I'm here for. And I want to do it in the way that's the most fun, because I like to always have fun, the most loving, the most compassionate, the most comedic and playful, curious, expansive, possible space for doing some like big time serious maturation. Matriarchy is already here, because the matriarchy is already here. If you haven't heard me talk about it, is a big guiding frame for me right now, which is we already have the matriarchy here inside of us. We're making it bigger. And we make it bigger by learning how to listen to ourselves, validate ourselves, and not abandon ourselves. Because the matriarchy doesn't abandon children. In this case, the children within you. The matriarchy doesn't abandon planet Earth. The earth that is here with you in present time, holding you and supporting you and coming home to yourself. The matriarchy doesn't abandon the future. The you who is working with your future self, healing the past, healing the future requires healing the past, anchored in the present moment, alive in the present moment, which is the only place that we have. The present moment is the only place that we have for the healing and change that we most want to see within and around us. Past, present, future is one of the huge themes of emergence astrology generally, and definitely of year one, because everything's inspired by this phrase that I heard years ago called the way of the three. And past, present, future is part of the way of the three. As I am understanding it, I learn it more every time I teach it. And I understand more, because my students, when they show up, I feel inspired to listen in a little more and share with them what it's meaning to me. And then they share what comes up through them. And we just anchor these teachings deeper every round. So if you will come and learn with me, if you want to come and get this life-changing pathway, doors open June 21. Solstice, and we will have the doors open through the rest of June. The early will be right at the beginning, and then we're together for a year. The first 9 months are hermitage, to be with yourself, with a curriculum of deep momentum. You will have 2 touch points a month those first 9 months, so that you can touch base with me and create deadlines for yourself if that helps you, but you're not required to all come, because we're not going to do any new material at the touch points. Those months are for you to be with yourself in this material. The touch points are for clarifications, questions, metabolizing, processing, and simply being witnessed. What a powerful thing. Fourth season, which would be like Aries, Taurus, Gemini season. That is going to be where we come together, and I'll be bringing through live teachings and conversations. All of it will be recorded and shared, because some people prefer to learn with me fully asynchronously, and that's up to you. I might do that. I'm a big asynchronous learner. But I will say that my students will all tell you that the most valuable thing from my spaces is learning together. It's the people that you meet there. I know it's a hard incentive to trust in, but that's why it ends up being the most miraculous one. So special, sending lots of love to everyone in my different community space who've found their new communities. It's such a joy knowing that my spaces provide such intimate, lasting friendships, meaningful networks for you, people who can mirror and validate you in your gnosis and in your truth as you uncover it in real time through our being together. This is such a powerful way to do with astrology for all the astrology lovers and the soon to be astrology lovers. We're applying astrology through the lenses that came into my life, and that then became known as Emergence astrology. So looking forward to seeing who comes and welcoming you into the next cohort of Emergence astrology, the totally revamped and revised Emergence astrology starting at this next first group. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you at the next one.